I also understand the diversity and how we've come a long way. That was really special. The First Lady, Amy Wakeland, was there, and anything that has to do with women and promotions, it was really special for me to be there. So thank you so much.
Great. Commissioner Kathleen.
Thank you, Commissioner Figueroa. Similarly, I've been assigned to the Operations West Bureau, and actually both President Soboroff and I went to a meeting to learn more about the Operations West Bureau's activities. It's a great opportunity to talk to the command staff there. And I did also, on a separate visit, meet with the captain of the Olympic division, and that was also very enlightening. But in addition to that, we've been assigned as committee liaisons to various committees, and Commissioner Saltzman and I have been assigned to use of force, risk management, and litigation, as well as constitutional policing. And so we've been having various meetings with the individuals in charge of those divisions, as well as today we'll be meeting with Mr. Chaliff and Ms. Correa to learn more about the policies and review them. And of course, if any revisions are recommended, then we'll be bringing those in front of the board at some point.
Great. Commission Vice President Paula.
Good morning. I too have been having lots of meetings with various individuals, lots of captains in the police department, and I had a meeting also with the fire department just because I wanted to understand what the opportunities were there. We learned a few weeks ago that I think something on the order of 17,000 applicants applied for a few hundred openings in the fire department, and in pursuit of our understanding and our improvement in increasing the numbers of candidates for the police academy, I thought that maybe people who were interested in public safety, if they didn't get into the fire department, they may also want to have some consideration about the police department. So we've been working on some of those things, which I'll talk about at another time, but what we're mostly focused on, again, is not only an increase in the candidates for the academy, but also an increase in diversity. I accompanied the chief and a whole bevy of other uniformed executives to the Reseda High School Police Academy's magnet formal inspection. That's a mouthful. Right. But it was quite exciting to see high school students from freshman through senior level, all at attention, all in uniform, all very much interested in finding their own particular role within the community. And to the few I had a chance to have a conversation with, I asked them, even if they decided to not go into the academy, that to please take what they're learning to help increase the citizen vigilance that goes on here in our community. And I think that's what I have.
Good. Commissioner Saltzman.
Thank you. I just have one. A couple weeks ago, along with Commissioner Madison and Commissioner Figueroa, as Commissioner Figueroa said, we were able to attend the Chief's LGBTQ forum. And as has been true for the last couple of years, very well attended, very positive. And I just want to echo Commissioner Figueroa's comments, thanking the chief and the command staff and all the line officers for all the work that they're doing to continue to improve the relationships with that community. It's really a sea change, and one that's very welcome. Thank you.
Great. You know, it's been almost 2 months since this commission first met. We were brought together by a mayor who knows that creating jobs in a vibrant, diverse, healthy Los Angeles are a direct result of many things. One of the most important of which is the community policing strategy of this chief, Charlie Beck. This commission is a board of directors, not micromanagers, who is stated in the city charter is to represent the citizens and the community at large. Our priorities including implementing recommended reforms, improving service to the public, reducing crime and the fear of crime, and initiating, implementing, and supporting community policing programs. As I said at our first meeting, September 10th, 4 of us have accepted this responsibility, the responsibility of ascending a really steep learning curve. And even our experienced commissioner, Rob Saltzman, is the first one to say that he continues on that learning path. Today's agenda includes items like reports on seatbelt usage, which is a small part of risk management, and the progress with the on-body camera project. Since our first meeting, our goals are crystallizing as we roll up our sleeves and get into the field. I want to say that every place I've gone, one of you guys has been there first. The cooperation of both sides of First Street has been real and invigorating. Together with the chief, the IG, the Protective League, the Police Foundation, and the guidance and the support of Richard Tiefank, all of your commissioners are looking at the future of the LAPD, its diversity, its succession planning, and other important issues. This mayor wants results, and I'm convinced we're going to deliver. And when we do, there's going to be money saved. And from a portion of that savings, there are things that the men and women of this department need and deserve. We won't be shy about bringing them up. Communication among people from all perspectives who share a common goal of a better LA is a great thing. As we look ahead, there will be challenges and specific issues that tax us to the limits. But the stars are in alignment for a great LAPD to get even greater. Thank you. Let's move on.
Okay. Number 2 on the agenda is the report of the Chief of Police. Chief Beck.
Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
A couple of things I wanted to talk about today, very briefly. First, I want to thank the Commission for their enthusiasm and the time that you have spent working in the field to understand the Los Angeles Police Department. I know that all of you have busy lives, and for you to make the time that you have to do what you've done is truly remarkable. I doubt that any new commission has started with more enthusiasm or spent more time with the police department. So I think that is something that is worthy of extreme note. The other thing I'll comment on, and President Soboroff talked about a little bit, is the need to build a healthy community in order to have a safe community. You know, these things are inexorably intertwined, and one of the most important pieces of a healthy community is a healthy school system. You know, I have had the pleasure to meet with Superintendent Deasy regularly since 2011 when he took the post, and I have been nothing but impressed and actually am in awe of his ability to manage what is an extremely complex and difficult organization. And I wanted to take this moment to offer my support for his position.
I think the commission echoes, I don't know, I don't speak for everybody, but
Sure.
anybody? Anybody want to echo? I echo.
Well, these are the two institutions that are most responsible for not only short-term but long-term changes in making not only a more viable Los Angeles, but also a safer Los Angeles. So, you know, he has been a fantastic partner, and I look forward to working with him for many years in the future. Last week, I attended the Major City Chiefs Conference and the International Association of Chiefs of Police meetings in Philadelphia. This is the top 75 or so major cities in the nation. Chiefs come together and talk about issues of common concern. And just to give you a little idea about how on track this commission is with what are measures of concern in my industry, body cameras were probably the number one topic. Many municipalities throughout the nation are in the very beginning stages, so taking the first steps, almost exactly on track with the City of Los Angeles. So we put together some working groups nationally to develop best practices and share information about things that work and things that don't work. And I look forward to incorporating that in our discussions as we roll forward. Also, timely discussion, seatbelt usage as a piece of officer safety. This is the Inspector General's report is welcome. It is a new report, but this is not a new problem. This is an issue that police departments deal with all across the nation as we try to mitigate our incredibly enthusiastic and brave workforce and try to make them take steps to ensure their own safety while being able to ensure the safety of others who are outside of their car. So, this is another step in a long journey. I know we'll talk about that further. But it was a topic of considerable discussion at Major City Chiefs. That brings me to crime. You talked about the measurements. This is the department's metrics that we use to measure success because of our belief that policing is tied to crime rates and good policing reduces crime rates. So far, year to date, and we are at a 10.6% reduction in homicides compared to last year. To give you an idea what that means, that's 26 less homicides so far this year than last. We're at an amazing 29% reduction in rapes. To give you an idea what that means, that's 209 fewer rapes in the city of Los Angeles than last year. Robberies, we are at a 12% reduction in robberies. That's 888 fewer robberies than last year. Aggravated assaults, the most serious level of assaults, we have a 9.2% reduction. That's 646 less aggravated assaults. So those are the four categories of property crime that have been measured in the United States since 1930. Our total reduction in those violent crime categories is 11.5% compared to last year. That's 1,768 fewer victims of violent crime in the city of Los Angeles. There are four categories of property crime that are also historically measured. They are all down in the city of Los Angeles for an aggregate reduction of 3.2%. So when you combine both those categories, we are just short of a 5% reduction in a very difficult economic time and a time when the department has not grown. Gang crime also down across the city, 16.6% reduction as compared to 2012, and a 24% reduction as compared to 2011. Shots fired and shootings are down throughout the city, as are attacks on police officers. Personnel, reason that this is so important to us is that the successes of the last 11 years have depended upon having adequate personnel to address issues. We have 9,916 sworn personnel on payroll at this time. We have 277 level 1 reserves, 22 level 2s, 135 level 3s, 392 specialist volunteers, 44 chaplains. We have 535 civilian vacancies and are staffed at 2,812 civilians. I know the cadet program will be a topic of conversation today, and we have 4,010 cadets currently serving the city of Los Angeles. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Number 3 on the agenda is the report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fank.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Two brief items at the President's request. We'll have next week at our Commission meeting a presentation by the Metropolitan Division Canine Corps to have a presentation on their duties and responsibilities. And also for the Department and Public's information, with the holidays approaching, give out advance notice of our holiday schedule. We will meet every Tuesday in the month of November. In December, we will not meet on December 3rd, since that is the Tuesday immediately following the Thanksgiving weekend, and certainly we will not have time as a staff to put together an agenda. We will have meetings on the 10th and 17th of December, with no meetings on December 24th, December 31st, and our first meeting in January will be January 7th. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you. Number 4 on the agenda is the report of the Inspector General. Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just as a matter of a brief update, previously I had spoken to the Commission about updating our website and continuing our community outreach by using some of the information technology. We're on schedule to have our website and Facebook page up the first couple weeks of December.
Will you give us an update on the in-car death that's been reported recently?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Commissioners, when that immediately came out, as you know, our investigative protocol for categorical uses of force is pretty robust. So when that incident came out, my staff was immediately alerted to it, and we sent a special investigator to the scene. When we were at the scene, we had reviewed the videotape and immediately identified some of the issues and concerns with that. And we identified some other concerns that we have that we're currently investigating. This is a priority with FID. We've talked with them about doing it, and we've been partnering up with them to make sure that we get questions answered to some of the issues that we see, and we're monitoring it all the way through as we do with all categoricals. And once we have some conclusions, I will brief the commissioners on some of the takeaways on this. And as always, because it's a categorical, it will come to commission in closed session with all the information the department's learned, and separately all of the information that the IG has learned and been able to develop.
And how long does that take for the parallel investigations to go on to where it will come to the commission for adjudication?
It generally takes several months to go, but before that, with some of the issues and concerns, as I've done in the past, I will be giving updates to whatever subcommittee that you designate, and I will give timely updates. In fact, when the video came out, I immediately played the video for a couple of the commissioners and also gave up-to-date briefs on some of the challenges that that situation presented, and I will continue to give information.
That's our use of force subcommittee, and so that would be the people I think you should continue.
And I will continue to do that. As soon as we have any timely information that we have, we will immediately provide it to the subcommittee.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to add? Chief, do you have anything to add on that?
You know, obviously the department takes any in-custody death very seriously. We are still awaiting the coroner's results to get some clarity on cause of death. You know, these investigations take longer than all of us would like, but there are very specific reasons that they require so much time. In the end, though, you know, we get to the truth of the matter, and the department will do the right thing. And if employees need to be held accountable, that's what will happen.
Okay.
Okay, item number 5 consists of information and filed items relative to noise variances and special events permits submitted for the period ending October 4th, 2013. Item number 6, are there any presentations?
Not today.
Okay. Item number 7 is the consent agenda item. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion?
A, B, and F.
This would be item number 7.
7A, 7B, 7F.
Okay.
I would move approval of items 7C, 7D, 7E, and 7G.
Second.
Okay. On 7A and 7B, I just wanted to point out that both of these donations came through the Police Foundation, and Cecilia Glassman, who is the executive director of that foundation, is here on another matter, but also hopefully are willing to listen to profound thanks.
Mr. President, you need a motion on, need to take a vote on the motion you had to approve 7C, D, E, and G.
Let's include A and B in that now also.
Okay.
So we'll move.
Is there a motion?
Need a motion to amend it.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the other 7F, This was from Paula Boland and their group, $7,000 worth of appliances for Devonshire area. I think that the idea of, as I tour around and go to the different divisions, and I've been to 9 of them out of 21 so far. It's only been 2 months. But they all need things, and they're all in communities that care about them. And I love to see the idea that when the community pitches in and does all they can to help the physical conditions at these divisions. In this case, it was appliances. I will have a motion for approval of 7F.
Move approval of item 7F.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now we are on item number 8, regular agenda items. 8A and 8B are verbal reports. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion between 8C and 8J?
Mr. President, I would like to hold special items 8C, 8D, 8E, and 8J.
Rob, say them once more. I wanted to. 8 what?
C, D, E, and J.
Okay.
And I would move approval of items 8F, G, H, and I.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I don't know if this just happened in my book, but my number H and 2 of them were the exact same, I think. G and H, am I wrong?
They're different witnesses. Witness 1 and witness 2.
Oh, that shows me that I need to read carefully.
Yeah, the items are different. They're both a reward on the same incident, but one is for witness 1 and one is for witness 2, and they have to be separated.
I'm embarrassed.
Okay, we'll begin with item number 8A, Department's verbal report and discussion relative to the status of the on-body camera project.
Welcome back from Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Did you have a cheesesteak when you were there?
Of course.
I haven't had my ethics training, but did you bring back any cheesesteaks?
No, I did not.
sorry.
Wouldn't travel well. Good morning. I'm Maggie Goodrich. I'm the CIO here for LAPD and the Commanding Officer of Information Technology Bureau. I have Sergeant Dan Gomez with me, who heads my Tactical Technology section. This is just an update on the on-body camera project, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of what's occurred so far since Commissioner Soboroff, you raised the issue. So at the moment, we have 2 vendors who are loaning us 30 devices each for a field test. The first vendor is Taser, who has a body-worn camera product and also a storage and evidence storage solution called Evidence.com. They are donating or loaning 30 devices for evaluation to us. The other vendor is Coban. They are also the producer of the in-car video solution that we utilize. And while Taser's solution provides a hosted storage solution, Coban's is actually an on-premise storage solution that utilizes our current in-car video storage and software to store and track also the on-body camera footage. So both of those vendors have offered 30 devices for evaluation.
And do they have different kinds of devices? In other words, does Coban have 2 devices and you're going to get 30 of each? Or does Taser have 2 different kind of devices? Or is it how many different devices are you going to be testing?
I'll let Sergeant here speak to the details, but I know Taser offers 2, and I think Coban offers 1, correct?
Yeah. You're right, Commissioner. There's Taser does offer 2 different ones. One is considered a body camera, which has no other attachments other than what is worn on the body. Taser also offers a secondary camera, which has a cord connected to it, which you can wear on different parts of your body, so the camera can be located in different positions. Coban only offers 1, which is the same on-body type design. So really, it's 2 in 1 for each of the vendors. Okay, thanks.
While we were in Philadelphia at IACP, we spent quite a bit of time looking at these devices. We had a briefing with CEO of TASER and the vice president in charge of security for TASER. I had some questions around the security around that storage, since it is a hosted storage solution. So they walked us through their storage solution and the security around that in quite a bit of detail, actually. We spent about an hour and a half just on security. Mr. T. Fink was actually there in attendance at that meeting. They gave a great briefing. At this point, my concerns regarding the security were, I think, mitigated. I think, resolved, really. I think they have a good security plan in place from everything they showed me. They're also going to provide some further documentation, which they owe me by the end of the year, that actually will walk us through exactly how each of their storage elements meets the requirements in the CJIS policy, that is the Criminal Justice Information Security Policy that's published by the FBI. So they had really thought it through, understood the security requirements, and are just going to present us with some further documentation. But otherwise, I think, went into sufficient detail to alleviate my concerns at this point regarding security on a hosted solution with them. We also then, after the meeting with TASER, went over to visit Coban. Mr. T. Fink walked over there with us as well, took a look at their device, talked about that a little bit with them. And again, that solution will utilize storage we already have in place for in-car video. We have the devices on order from both of the vendors, so we're waiting delivery on those.
They'll be on loan, so there's no cost to the city, no cost to the department.
Correct. They're just being loaned to us for evaluation at this point. And we're just waiting for delivery on those. And while we're waiting for delivery on those, we are basically working out the logistics on how this field test is going to occur. So we're seeking volunteers who will conduct the testing for us. We'd like each of the volunteers to try the different styles of camera so that we get feedback from individuals on each style of camera, make sure that they can do a real comparison of wearing the one on the shirt versus the one that maybe attaches to a collar or a helmet or that type of thing. And then we're also working on some draft guidelines to indicate how and when they should activate the camera. Obviously, those guidelines will be refined during this field test. We'll be asking for direct feedback on how realistic is it in certain situations to be able to get that camera on, how easy is it to flip on, that type of thing. And Dan can go into more detail as far as what types of things we'd be evaluating. The field test, the plan is to begin in the month of November. We'll probably stagger them a bit, because like I said, I'd like each volunteer to wear each style.
Very good.
The plan is to go for about 90 days and then come back to Police Commission with a recommendation on a solution, a style or styles of camera, depending on the results. Also, we'll at that point have a draft policy, which will obviously spend some time meeting with the Police Protective League on, and we'll come to Police Commission with a plan.
ACLU too?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. ACLU and the league as well.
League and Councilman Englander.
Yes, and council. And I'll be providing also a verbal update in public safety here in the near term as well. So as I bring my updates to you here in commission, I'll also go to public safety and provide the same update if the chair so chooses to put that on his agenda. But the plan is very early in 2014 to come to you with a plan on a larger pilot, which would utilize the funds that, Mr. President, you've successfully had donated here very quickly. So,
good. Chief, are you? This is all music to my ears. How about yours?
The only thing I would add is that maybe Maggie or Dan could update you on where we stand with in-car video. That had some significant movement this week, especially if we end up going with that as part of the solution. Then we'll need to have in-car video spread to more of the department, because we'll need the back end. So
Sure. Just a quick update on that. I was here just a few weeks ago with that contract to proceed with Central Bureau for the implementation of in-car video. That was in public safety this past Friday.
Yes.
It was passed. It will be in budget and finance
Great.
this coming Monday, and then hopefully we'll have a placeholder for full council by the end of next week. In public safety, the chair asked that not only we present this plan for this next phase to go to Central Bureau, but we also present the estimated dollar amounts to do the entire department.
Great.
So we're waiting for some updated pricing from Raytheon on that,
Great.
and we'll present that as well. And in conversations there with the CAO, we also plan to put a budget package together for the next fiscal year that will show the full dollar amount for the full implementation department-wide.
Can I ask a true-false question here? Do the new cars that are so cool and have so many new things, does the in-car video not fit into the back area of the new cars, or can it be adapted to work in the new cars?
So we've, as we looked
That's
at...
not a true-false statement. Sorry.
So as we looked at the new cars, we actually designed and worked with Motor Transport as part of the new design and actually built the schematic both with in-car video and without.
Good.
So as designed today, if we move forward and everything is approved, we'll be able to bring the system directly into all the new cars that we're purchasing. Both, right now we're purchasing both Dodge Chargers and several versions of the Ford. All our prototype vehicles include in-car video, so the footprint is there for us.
Good.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What percentage of the fleet of the force would have, of the new cars, so what would constitute?
So I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Specifically for what type of cars are we buying?
The new cars will replace what percentage of the existing cars, and those would have the in-car cameras?
So
Oh,
currently...
in other words, you're taking any in-car cameras out of...
Well, remember, until we put the back end into the other bureau, remember, it can't just, that's not
Right.
standalone in the car.
Right.
You have to have the back end, which we only have in one bureau right now, so 1/4 of the patrol fleet. We're moving into 1/2 of the patrol fleet in the coming year, but many of the cars that are going to be replaced are cars that are being used in West Bureau or Valley Bureau that don't have it, that's not compatible with in-car video. So that's why
Correct.
they don't all have it. Danny can explain better.
Yeah, the chief is absolutely correct. So only the vehicles that are being moved into South Bureau, and right now the vehicles that are being decommissioned in South Bureau, we're not adding to the fleet. We're simply taking the old ones out and then putting new cars to replace the oldest vehicles. And then what we do is we remove the serviceable items out of the old cars and put them into our inventory so that if we have accidents or something in the future, we have parts to be able to replace. But there currently isn't an increase in the total number in South Bureau.
Okay, and my second question is, and you may have said it, and I apologize if I missed it. Oh, I'm sorry. I should talk into it. I'm sorry.
It's not a private conversation.
I may have missed it, and I apologize if I wasn't listening. Did you say how many of the on-camera, the on-body cameras are going to be tested in the field?
From
How many are
each vendor is loaning us 30 units, so we'll have a total of 60.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Saltzman?
Yeah, I had a few questions, if that's okay, Mr. President. Starting by, I'm so pleased with the progress and your report, and obviously the success that President Soberoff's made on the financing. Just a few questions. Two about you talked about the procedures or the draft guidelines, and mentioned some of the players involved in that. I just wanted to ask where the Inspector General is also part of that process. And the answer to that's yes.
Yeah,
Right.
the answer to that's obviously yes.
Okay,
and
good.
we include Mr. Tiefenk in any of our discussions, and I'll certainly include the Inspector General. Usually Mr. Tiefenk will
And the reason I
extend
ask that
invites on behalf of Commission.
as I'm sure you know, and anyone who follows this closely would know, that periodically when we are reviewing a categorical use of force, there are periodically issues about whether the cameras are turned on or off, and storage issues and all of that. And so and that's public information. It's in the redacted summaries that we publish, and so I just want to reiterate that we look at that issue because it obviously will become even more significant as the number of cameras proliferates. Second question relates to what the chief had said, which is I'll be interested to see and understand how you are thinking about coordinating or not the body camera recordings and the in-car video recordings, and whether in the end the guidelines, regulations will be comparable or similar or exactly the same, or how those differences will come about and how they'll be implemented. And I don't expect an answer to that today, but it's something we'll certainly be interested in seeing. And then finally, a process question which may be pretty naive. For the in-car videos, there has been a long, somewhat tortured process of actually acquiring them. The RFP process, bidding, all of that. And I'm trying to understand in this situation, given the donations, is that process end up being the same, or is it different because of the donations? How will that work going forward? If after 90 days you're able to make a clear recommendation about the equipment, we're able to approve guidelines that everyone's happy with, what happens at that point?
So the process is a little different because it is a donation. The full city procurement process does not necessarily take effect. What we typically do is we provide the Police Foundation with our standards for whatever the technology is that we're looking for, and then the Police Foundation goes out and actually does the acquisition and donates the devices. Yes.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate it. And as I said, I'm impressed with the progress and pleased.
Two things. I will give you an update as far as the moolah goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But before that, which I think goes beyond the in-car cameras, and Chief, I guess you've pointed this out to me, and so has Richard Tiefank. The outside world of technology, whether it's in automobiles or in cameras, is indebted to this department because you don't just take what they have, you test what they have, and you go back to them and tell them how to modify their manufacturing of the products. And I hear this over and over and over again, how the real-time tests that you perform is so meaningful to them, and I think that's really a great thing. As far as the dollars go, in order to do a very large pilot program, which is at least 500 of these of the units, including the warranties and technology, downloading, storage, repairs, etc. The cost is $1 million to begin. Thanks to recent donations from Occidental Petroleum Company here in Los Angeles, Jerry Perenchio, who's been very philanthropic in Los Angeles, AEG, who everybody knows, and the others that I've listed before, we're close to $900,000 right now. So we're making very, very good progress. And I want to tell you, if once we get to the promised land here, at $1 million, I'm not going to turn anything down to go from to add more cameras to the pilot. As I tour around, I can't tell you the number of in stations and divisions and places where people say, "Boy, we sure hope we get 20. We sure hope we get 15. We sure would like them in Venice on the boardwalk." I hear it all the time. It's not my decision; it's the chief's decision. But so we'll keep going. But the implementation of this, you have risen to the challenge so far.
Thank you. We appreciate your efforts. I mean, the reason we've been able to move so quickly is because of the fuel you put behind this and the fundraising, the laborious process that Commissioner Saltzman referred to. The reason that most of our projects do move slowly is around that very lengthy procurement process within the city. Certainly, from a technology standpoint, we'd like to move much quicker, and so this is the pace at which we prefer to move. So we appreciate that.
Nothing short of a transformational result from these on-body cameras in the city of Los Angeles,
and
from both sides of the camera.
Your comments are greatly appreciated, and I just want to add on, Mr. President, that the comments you made about the evaluation that we do and the work with the vendors to really improve these products and make them useful in the law enforcement arena, that credit really goes to Sergeant Gomez. The work that he does and his section does. I sound brilliant when Sergeant Gomez talks about all my great ideas, but the credit really goes to Dan and the gentlemen that work for him.
These companies spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on design work, but they don't get the practical experience that you guys put them through from a big city police department, and it is a huge break for them to have this. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes. Any other questions? Commissioner?
I didn't have coffee. What's the process by which you'll determine where the beta testing will be deployed?
That's a good.
So we're working with the chief's office and the chief of staff to select those locations now, and like I said, also at requesting volunteers, since this is an evaluation and not something that's mandated at this point. So we're looking at several locations, primarily in instances where it seems that an on-body camera would lend itself to use, in particular areas where maybe we don't have in-car video right now. So that we can really, add to the force of camera technology. So looking at different areas like footbeats and bikes and motors and that type of thing.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
I also understand you've been collecting best practice manuals from other communities all over the place.
Absolutely. You have a whole collection here now, right?
I do. So not only have I been contacting different departments, but through several resources, I've been able to get policies from these agencies who are bringing those in. We've made direct contact with end users and people who have managed them. We've started those dialogues as well. So I have an entire binder full of people that I'm reaching out to, so we're certainly not doing this in a vacuum. So we're looking at those best practices, what has worked, similar conditions. The major issue that we found is we're the largest who's kind of taking this on. So our issues are a little bit different than others, but certainly there's a lot to learn from other agencies, and we're not doing this in a bubble.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 8B is the department's verbal report and discussion relative to the current status of the police cadet program.
4,000 cadets. Wow.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, Chief Beck, and Mr. Tiefang. My name is Natalie Torres, and I'm a Senior Management Analyst in charge of youth programs for the Los Angeles Police Department. Joining me is also Sergeant 2 Joe Coons. At the request of Commissioner Soboroff, I was asked to provide an overview of the department's signature youth program, which is the LAPD Cadet Program. In my presentation today, I will discuss the history of the cadet program, the seismic growth of the cadet program, the Cadet Recruit Academy, the Cadet Parent Academy, post activities, and the future of the LAPD Cadet Program. I have titled this presentation, The Cadet Program in Focus, because my goal is to provide you with a clear understanding of where we came from, who the cadets are today, and what we look forward to in the near future. The history of the LAPD Cadet Program. In order to fully provide the Commission with an overview of the extensive journey of this program, I will briefly summarize our path over the last 5 decades. The LAPD Youth Program, formerly known as the Explorer Program, was first introduced to the department in 1963. The program was originally designed to attract adolescent youth who embraced a desire to enter a law enforcement career. From 1963 to 2006, the focus of this LAPD youth program was to recruit young people to law enforcement careers. The Cadet Recruit Academy, in addition to nearly all of the weekly activities, were focused on law enforcement principles and emphasized military-style discipline. The problem with this model was that the program only appealed to a small percentage of youth, and at the end of their participation in the youth program, a very small percentage of youth participants went on to join a law enforcement agency. In 2007, with the citywide membership of only 450 youth participants, the responsibility for all LAPD youth programs was transferred to the Office of Operations under the direct supervision of the Director of the Office of Operations. Under the Office of Operations, this youth program was studied and re-engineered with the intent of extending our outreach to youth across the city and developing a curriculum that had the greatest impact for youth who want to succeed in their desired profession, whatever their chosen occupation may be. So, in January 2010, at the direction of the Police Commission, the department successfully transitioned away from the Explorer program and became known as the LAPD Cadet Program. This change brought a new curriculum, a new philosophy, a new look, and growth that has been seismic.
The purpose of the LAPD Youth Leadership Conference is to give cadets an opportunity to sworn members of the Los Angeles Police Department and spend a day in the life of an LAPD officer.
Where's Maggie? She didn't leave already, did she?
Sleep on us, I think.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. It was a late one.
Chief Pasinger, why are you not sitting up at the front table? You are the father of this program. You fund the whole thing. Come on. You're my hero.
Projectors up.
Is anyone in the audience under 15 years old? That's what we need.
Can you help me?
Let's do it.
Amy, you're not a-
System's on. It's just it was playing a second ago. It was all on the screen for you guys to see. Let's see.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and continue.
Yeah, and then we can come back to this.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I'll continue with the growth of the cadet program. As a result of an unprecedented outreach campaign, the cadet ranks have grown exponentially since its new beginning, with 2 classes a year and each new cadet class typically exceeding 500 participants. So each year, a minimum of 1,000 newly recruited youth enter the cadet program. The population of youth that have joined the cadet ranks since 2007 now exceeds 9,000 and represents 272 public and private high and middle schools from every community in and around the city of Los Angeles. The cadet motto is Dare to Dream. We chose this motto because our experience has informed us that many young people who bequeath their lives to gang membership and social disorder do so not merely out of a desire to become criminals, but instead it is a path they follow simply because they believe there are no other options. The cadet program is a powerful catalyst that leads to a life of achievement, promise, and purpose. Our participants take full advantage of their renewed enthusiasm for learning because we offer them choices and ask them to continue to dare to dream. The Cadet Recruit Academy. The cadet program seeks to recruit all community youth who are between 13 and 20 years old, maintain an acceptable scholastic grade point average, and are physically capable of participating in regular cardio and strength fitness activities. Our newly designed curriculum places strong emphasis on instilling discipline, leadership, scholastic excellence, and life skills development. The Cadet Academy is a comprehensive, multidiscipline youth education institute with the fundamental goal of providing participants with the indispensable tools necessary for them to live prosperous and successful lives. With this objective in mind, character education is the foundation upon which all of our courses are delivered, and is the common filament through which the various offerings are integrated. The 18-week academy, which is held on 18 consecutive Saturdays at the Amundsen Recruit Training Center in Westchester, encompasses a wide range of important scholastic themes that have, at the center point, Michael Josephson's 6 pillars of ethical decision-making. The 6 pillars that are foundation of our curriculum are trustworthiness, respect, caring, responsibility, fairness, and citizenship. In addition to the 6 pillars, we have recently added to our curriculum Sean Covey's book, The 6 Most Important Decisions You Will Ever Make as a Teenager. I have provided you with a copy of the book for your reference. This book prepares teenagers to address, understand, and deal with universal pressures like self-worth, addictions, dating, education choices, choosing your friends wisely, and learning how to effectively communicate with your parents.
This is good for older people, too.
Each education module is designed to teach the material through lecture, class discussion, and presentations. The second half of the module is designed to apply the information that the teen has been taught through role-play scenarios. These 2 sources of literature teach our youth about making ethical decisions and understanding that every decision has a consequence. Our consistent message to our students is emphasizing that the world that they live in is filled with negative influences and peer pressure. And our goal is to arm our youth with options and educate them on the consequences of their decisions. During the 18-week Cadet Academy, and with these 2 educational sources as our framework, cadet recruits participate in a wide range of academic offerings, as well as a rigorous fitness regimen. During the academy training, sworn LAPD officers deliver a challenging curriculum that focuses on life skills such as public speaking, teamwork, internet crimes against children, bullying, tolerance and diversity, drugs and alcohol, administration of justice, conflict resolution, drinking and driving, distracted driving, financial literacy, mental health issues, the college application process and financial aid options, and cardiovascular excellence. So with an emphasis on character education, academic excellence, and life skills, the Cadet Academy looks and feels more like a college campus than a military boot camp. The culmination of the 18-week academy is designed to be a grand celebration of their accomplishments before their family and friends. Dr. Max Nikias, president of the University of Southern California, strongly supports the LAPD cadet program and allows the LAPD to use the USC Galen Center to host our cadet graduations each year. Each cadet graduation is attended by a wide number of officials that have included Mayor Garcetti, Chief Beck, Dr. Max Nikias, Dr. John Daisy, various council members, and other notable individuals who support the LAPD cadet program. The graduation ceremony also brings approximately 8,000 community members who share in the excitement of their loved ones' accomplishments. Another portion of our Cadet Academy is the Cadet Parent Academy. In yet another innovative effort to build more self-sufficient and stronger communities, the Cadet Parent Academy was launched 2 years ago to teach parents many of the same exciting topics presented to their cadets, but with adult-inspired themes. The idea is to strengthen the bond between parent and child as they learn and grow together. The Parent Academy is an 8-week course for parents and guardians of the cadet recruits designed to parallel the academic courses being offered to the cadets in the Recruit Academy. This academy is unique in that parents study alongside their teen and it provides both the opportunity to learn together. An additional advantage of this concurrent learning approach is that it permits parents and their children to not only benefit from powerful life skills information, but the Parent Academy sessions also encourage increased communication in the home about those issues that are affecting families today. To date, 600 parents and guardians have taken advantage of this unique opportunity and have expressed their gratitude for supplying them with the much-needed information, but more importantly, for bridging the communication gap with their teens. Next, the Cadet Program Post. There are presently 27 cadet posts in the region, one at each of the 21 community police stations located throughout the city. Other posts are located at South Traffic Division, the LAPD Metropolitan Division, Communications Division, USC Department of Public Safety, Los Angeles World Airport's Police Department, and one post on the campus of the City of Refuge Church. Cadet meets at least once during the week at their local police stations for post activities. These activities include homework assistance, physical activities, supplemental educational topics, and athletic competitions, such as the SWAT Fitness Challenge. This event is a team competition where cadets are faced with a number of physical challenges that require teams to work together to complete each obstacle. Another annual event that is designed to increase teamwork among the posts is the annual drill competition. Preparation for this event encourages teamwork, creativity, and attention to detail, and are developed by the cadets themselves. Another important part of the cadet program is our community service. In the cadet program, we expect our youth to give back to our communities by volunteering service hours in their free time. The cadets have many opportunities to provide community service and recently were provided with the opportunity to volunteer at Dodger giveaway games. Through a partnership with the Los Angeles Dodgers, cadets have demonstrated their professionalism and community service by working as the gift giveaway crew at 32 Dodger home games. Fans were greeted at the gate by uniformed cadets who distributed all promotional items for those games. Not only did the Dodger organization love the cadets and what they represent, but many of our community members became cadet fans after experiencing a very professional interaction with this outstanding group of young people. While community service has always been an important aspect of the cadet program, in December 2010, we decided to elevate the need for community service even higher. So during each cadet graduation ceremony, we publicly recognize our cadets for their volunteer service hours through the Presidential Service Award program that was implemented by President Obama. Each volunteer must complete a minimum of 250 community service hours and is awarded a certificate signed by the President of the United States. The qualifying cadets are awarded a service pin to display their accomplishments on their uniforms. To date, there are over 1,000 recipients of this prestigious award. Finally, the future of the cadet program. Our cadet bike unit. In the coming weeks, the program will introduce its newest campaign, the Cadet Bike Unit. We have already provided nearly 100 cadets with formal bike training by members of the LAPD Bike Unit, which will provide our young people the opportunity to serve their communities in a very unique way. Plans are already in works to deploy cadets in their specially designed uniforms and their assigned bikes at events such as the Los Angeles Marathon, Ciclavia, sporting events, and other venues to assist sworn personnel with providing information and direction to guests. The next new program is the LAPD PAGE program, modeled after that which has been in place for decades in the Chamber of the United States Senate. Our department is in the preliminary planning stages of launching the LAPD Cadet PAGE program in the Los Angeles City Council. These special internships will provide our college-level cadets that have an interest and a career goal in public policy to work side by side during the summer with elected officials, their staff and constituents, to learn, participate, and see firsthand their government in action. Not only will it be a valuable education, they will also have the opportunity to document their experience on their resume as a first step towards their future. Our expansion. Over the past few years, the cadet program has not only dramatically grown itself, but has also flourished to include special law enforcement partners such as the USC Cadet Post and the Los Angeles World Airport Police Post. It's our ultimate goal, and to further expand this initiative, to invite law enforcement agencies from throughout the entire region to participate in this collaborative. We realize that our commitment to youth outreach is neither intrinsic nor proprietary to our department, but suffice it to say that we have seen the great value it has brought to us and our communities, and we feel strongly about sharing this powerful message of youth engagement with others. I will close my presentation today with a few items. First of all, a special note of gratitude to the Ray Charles Foundation and the Los Angeles Police Foundation for their continued financial support of the cadet program. I would also like to acknowledge in the audience today our Chief Cadet, Cynthia Romero from Newton area, and one of her 12 commanders, Ojeda, from Harbor area.
You guys want to say anything? Come on, come up here.
Oh my God.
You guys are cool.
Good morning. It's my first time being here, so it's definitely something new that I get to experience. But with the program, that's something that it's about every month I get to experience something different. I was able to go to the Purple Heart ceremony, which I had never gone to, and it was an amazing experience hearing all the stories. I was able to go to the dinner where they recognized the Officers of the Year, and that was also amazing. I've been in the program for about 4 years now, and ever since the first day that I went, at first my mother was the one that decided to enroll me into the program, but I didn't necessarily want to because it wasn't something that I didn't know much about it, but once I got into it, I fell in love, and I'm in love with the program. I know it's going to be sad when I leave, and I'm very grateful that I was able to obtain the rank of Cadet Chief. But a lot of the youth that we have here, it is, like Ms. Torres mentioned, it is the other option, because a lot of them, they grow up with families where the way their family works things out, that's kind of the way they feel it should be. A lot of the violence and gangs, that, especially in my area, down in Newton area, a lot of the kids grow up thinking that that's the way life should be. And that's what hurts me the most, because I know that that's not right, but because their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their grandparents, they're all in that lifestyle, they feel, well, that's how it is, that's how life should be, and that's what I'm going to do. But the cadet program gives them that opportunity not only to learn, to recognize, and to teach the rest of their family members that there is something beyond all that violence, and there is something beyond the typical stereotype of, oh, it's South LA, it's not that good of a community. Yes, it is. We have this program, and when I walk outside, even just to go to my post or sometimes to go to the academy, I have parents outside asking me, where are you going? I have sometimes where they drop me off in a black and white to my house because I didn't have a ride. And to a point, they thought there was something wrong with my family because I had so many police officers dropping me off. But it kind of intrigued me. It intrigued them to find out that I was in this program and that I am the chief of cadets, because it's something that it makes everybody really proud of. I have parents that come up to me, do not know me, but they tell me how proud they are of me because of the position that I hold and the area that I come from. So,
Where do you go to school?
I go to Cal State LA.
Cal State?
Yes, I'm a first-year freshman, and thanks to the program, I was able to get a scholarship from the Ray Charles Foundation, which was of great help because my father's not in the picture. My mother's the only one that kind of takes care of me, and I have a stepbrother that's also going to go to school. I have 2 little siblings, and it's just a big mess. But with the program, I've been able to kind of take my own route, and if I ever have any questions or ever need any help, I know I can go to any officer and just ask, I need your help. Can you help me with this? And they're always willing to help me.
Do you think you influence other people?
Yes.
Like?
I never asked for any recognition. I don't like getting a lot of recognition. What I do is because I love helping people, and that's how I realized joining the program that I wanted to be in law enforcement or something that had to do with law enforcement. But I have had a couple of cadets tell me that I am the reason why they are still in the program, that I am the reason why they decided to go to college, why they are deciding to go into better careers, to keep on doing good in school, because I have a lot of parents where I can relate to the parents in the sense that my parents are not together. My mom is the only one that takes care of me, and a lot of kids use this as an excuse, oh, well, my dad doesn't care, and my parents are not together, so why should I exceed beyond what they expect if they're not going to provide me with anything? A lot of the kids take that as an excuse, but I let them know, my parents aren't together. My parents are immigrants. My whole family are immigrants to this country, and so I serve as an example that they can do it. So I don't take anything as an excuse because I use myself as an example.
Did you practice this speech?
No.
You're something else.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm grateful for being here to represent the cadet program. I wasn't actually expecting so many people. Yeah, so my name is Eric Ojeda. I started the program about 2 years ago. I joined mostly because my mother wanted me to join. I guess you could say I wasn't the best kid back then. I felt lost. I felt like I didn't know what to do. I'm actually an immigrant. I'm not a natural born citizen. So being in the program and everything showed me that I wasn't lost, that I was just finding myself. And the first time that they put me in a position of leadership, it showed me the responsibility. It showed me that I could actually impact people's lives. And with the cadet program, we're actually impacting many, many lives. And this is the whole new generation of the whole world. So, I mean, that's really amazing. 9,010 cadets. That's what it is now. Through the cadet program, I've learned leadership. I've learned how to study, how to have discipline. They introduced me to a couple schools, boot camps and everything that I decided to go to, which I have graduated from. I graduated from one with congressional recognition, $2,000 worth of scholarship money, a lot of awards. I never thought I could get so many. But it just makes me happy. The main reason that I love being in the program is because I get to inspire people. When I grow up, I'm already pretty grown up, but yeah, later on, I just want to say that I impacted many people's lives. I created a difference in this world, and it's because of me that a lot of people, a lot of youth is now striving towards their dreams and unleashing their potential.
Where do you go to school, sir?
I go to school in West LA College and Harbor College.
Great. Wow. It's speechless. You guys are fantastic. Please take these. You guys.
Cadet Ojeda and Romero.
Chief wears one. You're going to wear one. Good,
Thank
good
you, sir.
athletes, too. Thank you.
So I will conclude with a special invitation to each of you to come and dare to dream with our graduates on Sunday, November the 17th at 11 a.m. at the USC Galen Center. Thank you.
Wonderful. Chief, I would like to hear a couple of words from you about this.
Can I say something about
Yeah.
Natalie? When I visited the Chief Pasinger, she reminded me that we also went through a youth program, and look where we're at today, the Summer Youth Employment Program, which really doesn't exist, that I would love our mayor to bring back, because it really helped us overcome and be where we're at today. So I didn't want to age you, but thank you, Natalie. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chief?
Mr. President, members of the commission, one of the things that was left out of the conversation I'd just like to put an exclamation point behind is the leadership of Chief Beck. This has been a long journey going back to 2006, 2007, when the former commission, actually Commissioner Saltzman was a member of that commission, challenged the LAPD to engage in this transition from the Explorer program to the Cadet program. And as a result of that, you have heard and you have seen not only tremendous growth, but also life-changing opportunities for literally thousands of young people throughout the Los Angeles region. But one of the things that has made this possible is the leadership of Chief Beck and him understanding that on this foundation of young people emerges a new architecture of communities. And policing is not about putting handcuffs on people. I often tell folks that, over the last 10 or 12 years, we've arrested literally hundreds of thousands of people. And I sit here and bear witness, as does many of us here in uniform. That really isn't the answer. The answer is what you have seen here today. And the fact that Chief Beck and the Los Angeles Police Department has been willing to invest literally hundreds of police officers to conduct this outreach. And not only this program, but also the Police Athletic League, the POP program that's administered by Roberta Weintraub, the LAPD Magnet Academies, all the rest of the programs that the organization sponsored. Were it not for the fact that the chief has allowed his vision to permeate the work that we do, many of these young people would not have an opportunity. And so from me to him, I'd like to express my thanks, and also to you for allowing us to continue this work. It's not easy, it's quite expensive, and it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes we like the microwave, quick fix, popcorn approach, and it just doesn't work. It takes time and energy and resources and commitment. And you have seen today, and you have heard today, and you will see again on November 17th what this really means and how many lives it really affects.
Great.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Chief, could you tell us, so where does the funding come from? And if there's 10,000, are there 10,000 present cadets, or are there 5,000 present cadets?
We have trained since the renaissance of the program approximately 9,000. There's about 4,100 that are currently active. Active to mean that they show up at least once a week to one of the 27 posts. The program is primarily funded by the Ray Charles Foundation as a result of a very generous grant. But over the years, also the Police Foundation has stood firm and fast and stood in the gap in terms of providing funding to allow this program to flourish. Providing for over 4,000 kids, just the fact of getting them from point A to point B is sometimes a fairly significant challenge. But through the funding from them and also others, I recall in the not too distant past, one of the former commissioners actually gave a $10,000 grant to himself in furtherance of the program. So the money comes, and we're able to continue.
Do you have a percentage of the LAUSD student population that the 4,000 constitutes?
Probably a good 97, 98% come from the LAUSD. And what's interesting is that, as my memory serves correct, there was about 56%, I believe, of the graduating seniors that actually graduate from the LAUSD, and of the senior cadets that participate in the program, at our last count, 96% of them actually graduate from high school, which is an amazing number of kids.
Right, so I was looking at that in the brochure that you gave us, and only because I extrapolate and just move ahead. If has anyone taken a look at what percentage of students of LAUSD we're reaching in the cadet program, and how that might be countering the gang membership, and what would the tipping point be? Where would it come to where if we had, I'll make up a number, 20% of the students in LAUSD who were a member of the cadet program, or 10% of the students, if there was some kind of a, I don't know, I'll call it an extrapolation, where you could sort of advance forward and see that it actually, you could then begin to look at the change that it's making for the youth in the city. And then, because I'm on the board of the United Way, and then what, as a community initiative, what would it take? What does it take to get to a point where we have X number of I'll only speak to LAUSD only because I think it's probably a manageable chunk under the same municipality. I know I make things up and I'm sorry, but I in trying to understand that, of course, this program is a success. It's a success because of, we just saw the cadets, most certainly. But I want to know, having grown up poor in a ghetto and on welfare, you don't often get an alternative to the bad behavior, other than your mother staring at you and asking you, please don't do that, right? But to have an organized institution that allows young kids to come in as a legitimate alternative to going out and doing, bad, unsavory things. I just think, I don't know, I never knew about this in its totality. Like, I never knew that such a program existed. And I just wonder if there's not a way to highlight it more, and maybe money is not the answer to everything, but in this case, I'm sure with bicycles and uniforms and training and whatever, it's a considerable expense.
And I'll just comment briefly on that. The renaissance of the cadet program is really very new. As Natalie told you, the program has increased tenfold just in the last 5 years. I think it's probably doubled in the last 3 years, probably since we changed it from Explorer to Cadet. So it is early to do that kind of study because many of our kids are still in the program. But I will say this, that as this program has flourished, so has many of the city's gang violence reduction programs. And, when I tell you that over the past 4 years, gang crime has been cut in half in Los Angeles, that is in no small part due to these kind of programs. And I'll close with one thing. Earl is always very gracious. The only credit I deserve for this is being smart enough to get out of the way. So many people say that is my only strength, but that truly is what has been required, is just to give support, and I know this commission supports this also.
Great. And when that film gets up, next meeting, the meeting after, fine, come back and visit.
You'll see it at the graduation.
Oh, in the graduation? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Rob?
Mr. President, if I might, just a couple of comments. And I'd like to start with, to disagree with the chief. The Chief Beck's role in this is very significant, and it was significantly more than just getting out of the way. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. I want to talk a little bit about the history and then share a little bit personally. One of the driving issues in the change, just want to remind folks, is the Explorer program, they argued about it, but was essentially part of the Boy Scouts of America. And there are lots of good things about the Boy Scouts of America. But one of the things that was not so good was and is still true, the Boy Scouts of America affirmatively discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation and religion. And that was one of the driving factors at the commission level to separate from the Explorer program and to encourage the department to create the cadet program. And there was, although there was not, in my sense of this, there was not significant disagreement about distaste for the policies that were being implemented by the Explorers. There was significant inertia within the department against the change, coming, I think, to a great extent from a good place. That is, the program seemed pretty good. It was serving a number of youths, particularly minority youths, who had a good role in community outreach and community policing. The Explorer program in particular had a wide range of sports competitions that the Explorers wanted to participate in. And so there was significant inertia against the change. And that was frustrating, particularly for me, in part because when I came on the commission in 2007, I learned quickly, as I'm sure you all are, how proud the department is, appropriately, in virtually everything it does. That virtually everything this department does is the best. It sets the standard nationally and internationally. And it was frustrating that the department was not able to or was not willing to do that with the youth programs. And so I was so pleased when, with Chief Beck's leadership and agreement and the leadership of the commission, that we made this change so that beginning in 2010, the program was run by the department. And the results are extraordinary. Exceeded all expectations. We know that from the reports that you give us. We know that from the demonstration we saw this morning from these two extraordinary cadets. We know the effect that it's having in community policing, in outreach to the minority communities in particular. And I just want to share one personal piece of that as well. Completely coincidentally, or maybe not completely, but mostly coincidentally, during roughly that same period of time, well, from roughly 2003 through the current year, my husband, who had retired, was looking for some things to do. And one of the things he volunteered to do was to become a Big Brother in the Big Brother program. And when he volunteered to do that, the Big Brother program said they were very interested, but they didn't even have enough staff to do the intake so that he could become a Big Brother. They had essentially a waiting list of adults who wanted to be Big Brothers, and they couldn't accommodate them, even though they had so many kids who were looking for Big Brothers.
Is it Greater Los Angeles,
yes.
Jewish Big Brothers, or Catholic Big Brothers? Do you remember?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because they all have different...
Yeah. And it's now 10 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
But so what happened was, coincidentally, we met a woman, a single mother, who we had met previously, who had a son who was at that point elementary, junior high, and they were looking for a Big Brother. And so my husband volunteered to do that. And through that process, the little brother, Derek French, eventually joined the cadets.
Wow.
And the transformation in him was extraordinary. He's now a college freshman at St. John's. He's performing dramatically better than he did in school before that. And he's planning a career in law enforcement. And the effect that had on me personally, on my husband, and the backdrop of that is, even though the Boy Scouts has now changed its policy somewhat, so that if you're openly LGBT, you don't get kicked out of the Boy Scouts as a Boy Scout, when you reach the age of 18, you do get kicked out. The message of the Boy Scouts is, as an adult, if you're gay or lesbian, you are not an appropriate role model. And what that means is he still could not be part of that program. I still could not be part of that program. And so I'm so pleased to see the tremendous success of this department doing the kinds of things it does best: community outreach, community policing, working with the community so that we all have a safer, better place to live. And I appreciate your putting up with my personal story there. But I so much want to thank you, Natalie, thank you, Chief Pasinger, thank you, Chief Beck, and everyone in the department who put so much time and effort into this, because the payoff is incalculable, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Ron. Wonderful. Okay, let's move on.
I'm sorry, I have one question.
Yeah.
Is there more we can do? Is there more the commission can do to help with this? Maybe staying out of the way. But if there are things, I hope you will let us know.
Yes.
Funding is always fun. It's as you know, it's like I mentioned before, it's always a challenge moving and exploring new opportunities for young people. It costs somewhere in the neighborhood in terms of employee costs and other related costs about $250,000 a session. And it's not an inexpensive proposition. You weigh that, however, against what it would cost not to provide these young people these kinds of opportunities to give them a chance to prosper in their lives. And so anytime that we have an opportunity to outreach, or you have an opportunity to outreach along with Ray Charles Foundation, the Police Foundation, we're always looking for other opportunities for funding sources.
So I'll have an ask. If all of you could bring 2 people to the graduation, it will be life-changing for them. You think you felt good about hearing the chief cadet and her commander talk? Wait till you see those 500 kids. If you do that, you will bring what's needed to the program.
It's a deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now on item 8C, Department's Report dated October 11, 2013, relative to the Van Nuys Area Detective Command Accountability Performance Audit, IAID number 13-027.
In front of you basically is the Detective Command Accountability Performance Audit that was conducted for Van Nuys Area. These CAPAs were basically designed to examine the work product within a detective unit within a specific geographic area. Really to focus on initiated arrest by detectives, less patrol function. The search warrant, Ramey warrants, case clearances, as well as supervisory oversight for that particular area. This is the 12th detective CAPA we have completed quarterly. Again, the first one for Van Nuys. Looking at the audit, you can see they did very well in many of the areas that we've tested. If there's any specific questions about the audit, turn to Detective Kimry, who was the project manager. Otherwise, we can go to the commanding officer of Van Nuys Area.
I think it's interesting to note that these audits were mandated by the consent decree, but now that we're out of the consent decree, we're continuing on with these processes, which I think is very admirable.
We were actually able, this particular audit was not necessarily mandated by the consent decree. However, we were able to look at risk areas within the department at some point towards the end of the consent decree and start up these types of audits.
Okay. Do we have questions, Rob?
I just have one, well, I guess a comment and then a question. One comment, Mr. President, is I agree with you that how important it is that the department continues with these audits. And as we left the consent decree, had the transition agreement, left the transition agreement, the commission was quite clear, and the chief agreed that it was important to continue these. So we certainly appreciate seeing these and know how important they are. The question I have relates to, it's in the last 2 pages of the materials, page 1 and 2, it's the July 17th memo from the commanding officer of Van Nuys to the commanding officer IAID. And in that memo, the commanding officer in Van Nuys raises questions about whether the things being tested actually make sense. So, for example, in the 3rd paragraph on page 1, one supervisory bypass not meeting the standard was for an arrest for Penal Code Section 21810, which prior to 2012 would have been under Penal Code Section 12020, and goes on to say that these are not really still in effect, that the view of from Van Nuys is that they were in fact compliant, even if they were not compliant in the letter in the law. And there's another example on the second page. And so I just was curious whether that problem is something that has been resolved, is being resolved. If what the commanding officer of Van Nuys is saying is accurate, it seems to me IAID would want to respond to that. So,
Yeah, certainly. Go ahead.
Sir, my name is Captain Ivan Mintzel. I'm the Area Commanding Officer. Mr. President, fellow Commissioners, Chief, Inspector. We have worked with the staff during our informal meeting about these in our response. We believe this is a training issue on both part, and we have moved forward. It's a slight change in the law, and we have adapted. That's the best part about these audits, to keep us focused and on changing laws and adapting our procedures. So we kind of weren't, but we kind of were. So we have progressed. I believe and the audit folks have gained some insight, but we've also gained an insight at Van Nuys. We kind of had some problems, and we've corrected that, and we have moved forward.
Right, thank you. And I would, if I could ask from IAID, if your sense is that, I mean, you have a different understanding of what those requirements are, or
Well, yeah. Basically, Commissioner, there's a working group in process right now that they are conditionally bringing these things together in the departments.
Right.
Again, we're going to see these types of findings, I think, throughout the city until there is some agreement with the district attorney and so forth.
Okay, and that's not a Van Nuys issue.
Exactly.
No, and I think
that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, in other detective audits, we've had the same conversation. The bypass needs to be fixed. You know, it uses a lot of detective time that is not productive, and so detectives, like most department employees, are also focused on doing their job. Sometimes they do what they know the DA is going to do, which is take the case to the CA without the bypass. Anyway, the department and the district attorney are working on this. This is one of the issues that Jackie and I are having personal discussions about.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I think that being a Valley boy went to Taft, these are very high grades for Van Nuys, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
To your whole group.
Thank you, sir.
I'd move approval of item 8C.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now on.
Thank you.
Now on item 8D, Department's report dated October 11, 2013, relative to the confidential financial disclosure inspection.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd be happy to make a comment which may end the discussion.
Okay,
since I held the item, which is this was the confidential financial disclosure inspection is very important. I mean, the process was important. It was a significant part of the consent decree and transition agreement. There were lots of issues associated with it, and it's so rewarding to see this inspection with 100% compliance. And I held it simply to say that. So
Great.
I have no questions other than to say thank you, and thank you to the department for the progress that's been made on this important issue.
You want to move it?
Move approval of item 8D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for the brief presentation.
We're now on item 8E, Department's report dated October 18, 2013, relative to the bias policing update quarterly report, second quarter 2013.
The question on that one? Is that Rob?
Yes. I do have a question and then suggestion for how we might proceed. Question has to do with the information that's on the very first 2 pages about the change in the adjudication structure from centrally to the bureaus, and some change in the data. And so the question is whether there's a relationship between those two. It may be too early to know that. And so I would be interested just in hearing you talk about that a little bit, if you have a sense of that.
Okay, I think I understand your question. By the way, I'm Commander Stuart Maisel, Commanding Officer of Internal Affairs Group. We didn't really change the adjudication process from what it's always been. When the complaints are investigated, they're investigated by Internal Affairs, and then once the investigations are done, they're sent out to the accused employee's division or area to be adjudicated. So the commanding officer of the division and area make their recommendation on the adjudication. It goes to their bureau, and either the commander or the deputy chief in the bureau then either agrees with them or military endorses a different adjudication. Then it comes to us at Internal Affairs, and we have a very thorough review process. We actually, probably more so than the vast majority of other complaints, because we view these as a very serious type of complaint. I have a detective in our review and evaluation unit that specifically specializes in reviewing bias policing complaints. They're then all reviewed by the officer in charge of my support section, which is a civilian employee. That's the equivalent of a lieutenant, and then I personally review each and every one as they come in. Now, if our opinion of the adjudication differs from the area and bureau, then it's a new process that we began late in the first quarter, which actually, because it was so late, actually it was in the second quarter when we began it, we went back and reviewed all of the previous second quarter complaints. And that process is, when there's a difference of opinion, we then send our recommendation along with the Bureau's recommendation to the assistant chief, which is in the vast, vast, vast majority of these complaints, they are from the Office of Operations, so they go to Chief Pasinger's office. And for them to be the final say on the disposition, whether it's unfounded, not resolved, insufficient evidence to adjudicate, or otherwise. So that's the way we do it now. And because we re-reviewed all of the complaints during the second quarter after the first quarter report was received and accepted by the Commission, we found 15 where we have slight difference of opinion with the Bureau, and those are pending the review now in the Office of Operations. So ultimately, some of the data in this report may change, and if that does happen, or should I probably say when it does happen, given that there are 15, we'll submit a supplemental report for your review.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess what, and it helps me understand it, as your report says, in the fourth quarter of 2012, IAG discontinued making adjudication recommendations to the command, the accused officers in the bias policing cases, and that's the change I'm talking about.
Okay. Yes.
And then the report says that the unfounded allegations have increased, and the not resolved dispositions have decreased. And so my suggestion would be, if my colleagues agree, is that given that change in the process and given what looks like maybe a change in the data, that we ask the Inspector General to review the report, as he does with many of these, and then report back to us with his analysis of this update, with an eye toward that change in the policy and the potential change in the results, so we know what's going on.
Well, you may want to hold off on that until we do give you a supplemental, because the data may change, and the data may end up being a lot more, a lot similar to what was previously reported.
I think what Stu's trying to get across is that the department agrees that there was a shift in the data, and because of that, and the change in administration and professional standard bureaus with Chief McCarthy and with Commander Maisland, I had them pull all those back, and they're looking at all of them again, and we're going to redo them. And so you will see this data come back to you when that review's been done.
And do you have a sense of when that will be?
Probably in I'd say probably 30 days, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Well, would it make sense then rather than our approving this, to accept this, file it, and pending the receipt of the supplemental? Is there any reason not to do that?
That works for us.
Okay.
Excuse me, Commissioner, we do have 2 comment cards on this item.
Okay.
Okay, we have Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Thank you so much for an opportunity to address the commissioners. As you know, I'm a long time participating and very vocal member of the community, 10-year stakeholder member of LA CAN. And I'd just like to remind you that it's most important that we encourage you to continue to police without regard to economic status, racial status, gender, because the problem still exists. I'd have to remind you, of course, of Dale Garrett, Devin Jackson, Taisha Miller, Margaret Mitchell. And I'd like to use the term racial profiling and economic profiling because you're liable for that, and that's what it is, okay, instead of diminishing what exists. Okay, and actually, I had brought to attention the fact that I've been falsely accused of being a prostitute, and my character was defamed, okay, by a white female. I spoke with Alexander Bustamante, okay? I'm a black woman. If I have this woman is here. Okay, I've been speaking here for 10 years. If I had defamed, okay, if I had attacked her and made a terrorist threat charge against her, she called me a black bitch, a black whore. She said I was a black tramp. I spoke with you directly regarding this issue, and I addressed the commissioners. Okay, she said, get this black bitch out of my building before I kill her. That was considered a misdemeanor. I know what constitutes a terrorist threat charge because I've been falsely accused prior by a Latina. This woman, not only was she not arrested by the police that responded to my call, because I called first. Okay, I was visiting my godmother at the Ellis on 6th and Stanford, waiting patiently, and she attacked me verbally and threatened and postured to attack me physically. Okay, that was considered as a misdemeanor, not a felony. She was not arrested. And when I asked the police, they said that they'd have to arrest both of us in mutual combat. I did not opt to make a private person's arrest.
Thank you.
So again, this dichotomy and the double standard exists. And this has to be eliminated, and I will stay vocal until it disappears from the system. It's racial profiling, not just bias. There's economic and gender profiling, based profiling as well.
The next speaker will be Jabril Mohammed.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief. In regards to the bias policing, as the former speaker just said, it has a lot to do with race. And that word is being used to substitute, and we got to get our vocabulary together. The discriminatory practices on the part of the administration, that's considered bias. We would give that a definition to the word bias. The prejudicial practices on the part of the administration, that's considered a bias. So let's give it the selective law enforcement enforced on the community. All these things are considered a bias. We're more interested in the results of your investigations and, as speaking for the public, mind you, the demographics in regards to the races involved in these investigations, and again, not to be redundant, but what have we come to? What is the resolve in terms of how not to be so biased in our policing, and how we can more be one with the community that we so move to protect and serve? So that's the point I would like to offer up, because we hear so many reports and we are failed to be given the numbers and the counts so that we can subtract and add, so that we can come to determine where we are actually in all of this. Where do we have to go? Where have we been? And where are we now? You know, those are the type of questions we want, because we want to improve. We want to improve.
Thank you, sir.
And we have no other comment cards.
Mr. President, I move we continue this item pending our receipt of the supplemental, and when the supplemental comes, that this item come back to us.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. You need a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now moving to 8J, Inspector General's report dated October 24th, 2013, relative to the review of traffic collision reports and safety belt use second quarter 2012.
Thank you, Commissioners. Seated at the table is also Assistant Inspector General Kevin Rogan, who's the head of our Complaint and Audit Section, that actually created the report and did all the underlying research involved in this. Because officers are more likely to be seriously injured or killed in a traffic collision than shooting or assault, we looked at this issue again. When I mean again, we've looked at it last year and reviewed several preventable traffic collisions, and noted that there were several cases where officers involved in preventable traffic collisions were not wearing their seatbelts. So in the report, we tried to examine traffic collisions to determine what portion of officers in our sample were not wearing seatbelts and to try to figure out the reasons why. One of the things that we had heard anecdotally was the concern that seatbelts created tactical disadvantage to the officers. So the first thing that we had done is to look through our internal files and all the categorical uses of force to see if there were any examples of a categorical use of force or an assault on officers where the seatbelt impeded the officer's ability to respond to that situation. And we weren't able to find any. And so the next thing that we did is we went to some of the national studies that were performed by law enforcement agencies and law enforcement groups such as the International Association of Chief of Police, which Chief Beck and myself both went to the conference last week. What we saw from the national studies was that there was no support for that concern. In fact, each of these studies that were either sponsored by law enforcement agencies or law enforcement family groups said that seatbelts were and are the one life-saving device that has proven time and time again to bring officers back to their families and to make them survive these serious incidents. So our sample definitely supported this claim. We saw that the officers that weren't wearing their seatbelts that got involved in preventable traffic collisions were, on average, injured more severely than officers that were wearing their seatbelts. Our audit and review also determined that in the system to analyze who's wearing seatbelts and who were not, we noticed discrepancies in the reports and some other items that we've worked with the department to fix. We've also, and to go back to the IACP, I, along with the chief, was there last week and attended a meeting on the various risk factors for officers. And quite apropos to this report were some startling facts that came out during that conference. Between 2001 and 2012, there have been approximately 486 law enforcement officers killed in automobile and motorcycle accidents. And according to these national studies, 45% of those fatalities were preventable simply by wearing a seatbelt.
Wow.
And
45%?
That's according to the national studies. And based upon any questions that you might have, both Kevin Rogan and myself are available.
I had a question as to whether the non-use of seatbelts was any more prevalent in certain divisions over others, or certain bureaus or others, or was it something that you saw across the board, sort of a uniform pervasiveness?
I'll answer simply for our view. We didn't break it down by bureaus or by divisions. We looked at all of the collisions that were reported for the quarter. I don't know if, Phil, if you have that kind of info.
I don't have the exact numbers for that.
I can ask one question because I have been out and about to different stations. I've never seen a buckle up sign on the exit of any station, ever. And so my question to you is, can you let me know if there are some? And I mean, there are 21 stations, but I don't know how many. There are probably 40 places where people deploy and should be reminded that they should have seatbelts. And so I'd like to know the exact number of that.
I can tell you off the top of my head, Pacific Division has a very good display as officers are exiting their gates. I can't tell you off the top of my head all the others.
Okay.
But when we do have a situation where there's an officer-involved traffic collision, that aspect of seatbelts is talked about. The officers are reminded. It is a constant. And when we look at the Inspector General's report, we agree with the findings. We very much enjoy the partnership. When we look at this, it's that cultural shift that we constantly have to maintain.
A cultural shift from what to what?
Officers saying that it's a officer safety issue not to wear the seatbelt.
And what do they tell their kids, and what do they tell their parents, and what do they tell their wives?
That is the exact shift we need to maintain. We need to get away from that thought pattern, because as the 45% that we see nationwide of preventables, the deaths and the serious injuries, there is no excuse when we have a generalization when an officer says, oh, I didn't wear my seatbelt because I was in a high gang area.
Can you imagine from across the street's perspective, as a part of risk management, this is a small part of risk management, but it's a part of lives saved, which is a huge thing to all of us. This is such low-hanging fruit. I mean, this fruit is absolutely on the ground almost. Yes. And if we can't even pluck this fruit, what can we do?
Agreed.
Okay.
I actually don't think it's a small part of risk management, but so that actually raises a question, which is,
I stand corrected.
I don't know. From a risk management perspective, I'm interested in whether departments evaluated the workers' comp costs that have been for injuries sustained as a result of not wearing seatbelts.
That my division would not do that. I'd have to resort back to the risk management.
I think there's a report coming to us
I could probably
next
answer
week
that.
on that.
I and Richard Tiefenk, we met with the risk manager, Beth Correa, about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And we should be getting a report soon. We did ask about, certainly about the percentage of accidents that occur that are preventable, where the driver or the passengers, the officers are not wearing seatbelts. We also asked about the financial impact regarding worker comp claims, as well as damage to LAPD property. And then we also asked for the information regarding the amount of the claims that the city is paying out related to such accidents. So there should be a pretty thorough report. I think it's coming, Richard?
A couple of weeks, ma'am.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, and so that will help. But the real issue is, yeah, across the street, I think there's a dual concern, certainly about the cost of not wearing seatbelts, but also the ability for us to prevent loss of life, especially of these officers. We just saw the presentation about the cadets, and those young people hopefully will grow up to be police officers, and hopefully they'll grow up to adopt the cultural, maybe a cultural shift of buckling up. But I think at this point as a commission, what we really, really want to do is work as hard as we can with the chief and the department and the PPL to make sure that we're keeping the officers as safe as possible. So I think that maybe one of the things that would be helpful is if we could get some sort of a joint cross task force or group of people to work together to see what's possible. Once the report comes out and we're able to look at actual facts, I have a hard time with anecdotes. So if we can get actual metrics and take a look at what really is happening, I think this does fall into the realm of low-hanging fruit. But I don't know that I want to necessarily put it in the hands of the risk manager. Not that they're not capable hands, but I think it goes across all of us to make sure that we are being as safe as we can be when we're operating the vehicles.
You know, a couple of things that are in progress here. One, we have a group that is meeting. We'd love to include the commission in it in order to help to change the way officers think about this. And believe me, as the data show from the Inspector General, we're not talking a majority, but we are talking a significant portion. So we have I think, at least a tipping point going for us, and that's what it has to be. It has to be a culture of wearing seatbelts and recognizing, even though I think that as all of you have said, and the Inspector General report mentioned, empirical data shows that this is the smart thing to do, to take care of yourself and to go home safely. But we also have to address the culture within the department of a great desire among particularly young police officers to be good at their job. You have to understand that many young police officers come to work every day hoping that they get to chase a man with a gun. and that is something hard for people in other professions to understand, and one of the ways that they hope to do that better is get out of the car quicker. So some of our newer cars allow them to get out quicker, and I think that we have to talk about that, and this is all, and this is not by way of making excuses. I'm just trying to explain the mental culture that goes with not wearing a seatbelt, is that they want to get out and to make the public safer by catching people that are doing illegal and dangerous things. But we have to have this as a bigger conversation that is not achieving their goals, and that this is a false perception of the timeline that it requires to get out of your car. So we're working on that. A couple of things that are in progress. I'm getting ready to do a department-wide video where I talk at the scene of our worst traffic fatality in Central Division, when we lost multiple officers in a multiple car collision a couple of decades ago. By way of personal stories, one of my partners was killed in a traffic accident, died in my arms actually. He was not wearing a seatbelt. There are ample stories to go with this, and while anecdotal shouldn't make policy, anecdotal can change the way people think about things. And so, one of the things that we're trying to put forward for next year is we're going to make a year of traffic, because LA is such, as we get a better handle on crime, traffic becomes more and more important as an operation of the police department. So, but traffic is not just external, it's internal. So this will be part of that.
Thank you, Chief Beck. I certainly can appreciate the culture that exists, especially with the young officers. And based on the Inspector General's statements earlier, it sounds like there's some evidence that regarding tactics, response time is not reduced by the usage of seatbelts. Maybe some of that data or information could be used to incentivize.
I think what the IG looked at was whether or not you were put at a tactical disadvantage when attacked. This is a little bit different. That is one rationalization that is used, but the rationalization that I'm putting forward is the one that I think is actually the motivation, which is they want to be able to get out of the car quickly to respond to crimes in progress. And there's two different things. Many times they will talk about the danger of being attacked and can't get out of the car, but many times it's just a desire to put themselves into the fray more quickly. But the answer is still the same. This is a misperception.
The ride along I went on, this is again anecdotally and certainly not as dramatic as what happened to you, Chief, but the officer told me that the location of the seatbelt was interfering with his equipment, and that the location of the buckle by your lower left hand with all the equipment and everything else was inconvenient. So I looked and saw that there is equipment. There are law enforcement seatbelt extenders that, in fact, he told me, he said, if I could push a button in the middle here and get this thing off of me, it would make it much easier for me. And so, I looked at that, and I think that technology is certainly the new cars. They understand that, but the technology, even for the old cars, is there. Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah. First, I just want to thank you, Chief, for the observations, which I think are very helpful, and it seems to me are in agreement to a great extent with what the Inspector General is saying. One of the points in the Inspector General's report was about the explanation on some officers use, which is essentially a generalized basis. I'm in a dangerous area, and it seems to me that speaks directly to what you've been talking about, and I appreciate hearing from you specifically about the things that you are doing to encourage compliance with the mandate to wear seat belts. I assume, in addition to the year of the traffic, I assume part of it will be a review of or of the training that goes on in the academy to make sure that's in line as well. Two final things. One, just to go back to the exchange that Commissioner Madison and I had, the report that's coming to us, I would like it to have in it specifically information about the workers' compensation costs that relate to seatbelt usage. And so I hope that will be the case. And then the last point I want to emphasize, I don't think we've talked about very much, and I would be interested in the department's response, and that is toward the end of the Inspector General's report, before the specific recommendations, which I expect will approve, on page 6, the Inspector General says, the department policy requires officers to use their safety belts. Despite the policy requirement and the direct risk to officers from safety belt non-use, there was little evidence that commanding officers were holding their subordinates accountable for violations of the department's safety belt policy. Of the 45 cases of confirmed or possible safety belt non-use, only 3 officers had their seatbelt usage addressed by their COs. Of those 3 officers, 2 received comment cards. No discipline was issued. So it seems to me that, yes, we're talking about a culture change at the officer level, but we also may need to be talking about a culture change at the commanding officer level. And so I'd be interested if you have a response to that now. If not, I'm guessing that will come out if we approve this report, since that's part of the recommendations from the Inspector General.
And of course, we're looking at it. I will say that I think it's worded a little dramatically there, because many of that 45 we can't draw a conclusion, and therefore you can't take an action on a maybe. Now, should the percentage have been higher? Maybe, probably, and we'll look at that as we roll out the information program and all of the training involved. This is something I'd much rather use the carrot than the stick on. This is something that I think people are doing for reasons that they believe are intrinsically the right reasons, and I would rather address that belief. And if we get to the point where it needs to be a discipline issue, then obviously, I don't have any issue with doing that. That's what I do for a living. But I think that this is something I really want to look at from a positive point of change, because I think it's what it is. I don't think folks are doing it out of disregard for the law or because they think that they're above the law. I think that they're doing it because they think it will allow them to do their job better, when in fact that's not true. And so I think an informational campaign is what I want here.
I agree with you. I don't think what we're saying is inconsistent. My point is, it sounds like there is an issue that the commanding officers need to better understand your position that they can explain those in a positive way with the carrot, not the stick, to the officers under their command.
And I absolutely agree. And so that is an ongoing topic and will be emphasized. I know Chief Paysinger is in the audience. And I also want to, Tyler's hiding in the back there, but our union president, Tyler Eisen, no longer hiding, standing up. Tyler and I talked about this yesterday. And I don't want to speak for him, but I will. I'm a 20-plus union year member. I can speak for you. We agree. We're in agreement on this. This is something that he wants for his membership also.
Okay, we do have 2 comment cards.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd just like to speak to the the outcome, the potential outcome of the report that we're going to get in a few weeks on the impact of the accidents and not wearing seatbelts. Or I think that the decision about whether to use a carrot or a stick has to come out of the findings of that report, because if the results are so overwhelmingly clear that not wearing the seatbelt is not only injuring officers but is also injuring the public, I think that might weigh some on the approach in terms of how this is rolled out. So I fully understand, Chief, and support your sentiment, but what I'm getting at here, and I certainly am not trying to beat anyone over the head, but I don't want us to go into this believing that it can be a more gentle approach if, in fact, the outcome of the analysis indicates that this has to be dealt with immediately because the impact is really that negative. That's all I'm getting at.
Okay. Can we hear the comment cards? I would like, as part of I would like to see a photograph of Pacific and a photograph of every other place in the system and compare it to Pacific, and then we'll do a signage plan and figure out how to do that too. Okay, did you say there are comment cards?
Yes, sir. We have Cecilia Glassman, followed by Tyler Eisen and Jabril Mohammed.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. The reason I'm here, I am the executive director of the Los Angeles Police Foundation. And the Los Angeles Police Foundation, as many of you know, really is the private support for the LAPD. And in the last 15 years, we have given the LAPD just over $18 million. And by the end of 2013, it'll be close to $20 million. We work very closely with Chief Beck and with the department to come up with their priority list. And one of the things that has come out of this report is the possibility that there is equipment that could enhance use of safety belts. And that would be a safety belt extender. If that is something that is viewed as benefiting the department, a priority of the department, Chief Beck knows that he can come to the foundation and be provided the funds that he would need to get these. Really, that is pretty much the extent of my comment.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Could you also help us if we have to implement a sign program and Public Works is slow?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that the department views as a priority and comes to the foundation, we review, and the funding is either there because we regularly bring in funds that are unrestricted, and at times we actually go out and fundraise for restricted uses. So depending on the amount, it can be done either way.
Will you hold that extender up so that people in the audience can see it?
And it's actually a piece that, if you buy a single one, costs $25, but literally, if we were buying in quantity, I'm sure we could do much better on the price. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Tyler Eisen.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Chief, Mr. Tiefenk, Mr. Bustamante. Tyler Eisen with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. The Chief is correct. We spoke about this yesterday. We've spoken about it before. It is a pet peeve of mine because I worry about my members out there and the officers that are out there going out and doing their job day in and day out. I do think that it has been reduced to an education and a training and possibly an equipment function. We've got the people who are wearing their seatbelts now that recognize that they're safer in their seatbelts than out. Those that aren't wearing them really believe that they're not safer in their seatbelt, or they can't get to the bad guys in their seatbelt. I don't believe that's true, but I can't show them any empirical evidence because we haven't done the studies, we haven't demonstrated it for them. And I believe that once we demonstrate it for them and convince them of that, they'll wear their seatbelts. I don't believe that punishment is the way to go because right now all of us agree that they're facing death, and that's not making them wear their seatbelts. So we've got to come up with a way to make sure that they understand. And so with that, I'll say that the Los Angeles Police Protective League is here to partner with the department and get this done, whatever we have to do, because I'm more interested in making sure that they're safe than anything else. So thank you very much.
You know, one of the carrots, which I think would be a very big carrot, is the direct relationship between amount of money that we pay out as a result of not wearing seatbelts to money that could come back to the department for other things. And I think if officers are thinking, you know, this is not about a negative thing, it's about, hey, my buddy's not wearing his seatbelt, and because of that, we may not, you know, we may not, the department may not get more money from the city for other things that we need, and we need a lot of other things. I think that's I like the idea of the positive reinforcement. There's plenty of positive things that can happen if we don't have a lot of claims because of seatbelt issues.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's an honor.
Jabril Mohammed.
Good morning again, Commissioners, Chief. Jabril Mohammed for Bismillah, the Justice Movement. We're speaking in terms of seatbelts. The lady representing the foundation, please forgive me for not remembering your name. $18 million over a course of time the foundation has given. The Police Protective League have supported. It's great concern. $18 million worth of concern for the seatbelts. Commission, you are our seatbelts. Okay, you are the seatbelts for the public. Okay, we look for you to guard us against the happenstances that may occur as we ride this vehicle called Los Angeles. When one of us is subject to incident, harm, and injury, it is a seatbelt malfunction. In the case of bias, in the case of prejudice, in the case of abuse, all of these, the people are anticipating to be safe. We're asking that the Commission take an examination in regards to the compassion that is lacking for the public. We see a great deal of compassion here for the administration, which is good. We need the support. But we, as the public, need the very same concern and compassion that you're extending to the constabulary. Thank you very much.
We have two additional cards on this item. We have Pete White, followed by Hamid Khan.
Good morning. Pete White with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. It was interesting as I sat back there and listened to the exchange about seatbelts. The PSA that continued to ring in my mind was buckle up for safety. Everywhere. That's all you hear. Buckle up for safety, buckle up for safety. It's the law. It is important for us to understand that law applies equally. I'm a veteran. I understand trying to get into action quickly. But I also am troubled by this idea, and if Chief Beck, I hope you're looking at me, this idea of this being a sort of minor thing, right? That it's just about the officers and they're really wanting to get out there and it's a carrot versus a stick. I find that ironic because we're in a city that practices the broken windows of policing. And under that model, it talks about targeting the small things that, if left unchecked, lead to a larger culture of lawlessness. And so if we're practicing those things out externally, it is imperative that we practice that idea internally, that those small things, if left unchecked, lead to big things. So this is indeed not a small thing. It's not a small thing to say, well, it's a carrot versus the stick. It's policy. And if it's a policy, me, Joe, and Jane Public anticipate that you will, on seatbelts, on racial profiling, not bias policing, that still exists, that you will act upon that and not leave it to some other day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Hamid Khan.
Good morning, Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition and Los Angeles Community Action Network. I think the previous speaker pretty much said what, similarly sitting over there in the audience and listening to this exchange, and the only thing you can say is, like, from Chief coming, like, really, boys will be boys? Is that the only answer that we're going to have? That it's just a few bad apples, they're going to do that? But it also makes you wonder that, obviously, since we are very young in school and family and community and everybody else, buckle up, buckle up, buckle up. You come with that orientation. So what is it about this police department that reorients people, that reorients them to absolutely that they're above the law? We've seen that in several other cases: police shootings, police murders, racial profiling, falsifying evidence, you name it. How many more reports are we going to hear that keep on affirming that it is a culture that considers itself above the law? So this is very embarrassing, quite frankly, to be sitting here as an Angelino and just watching this thing just fall out, and all the chief has to say, well, we'll take a carrot and stick approach. So we hope that you really take notice to this thing, because this is a serious issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that is the final card, Mr. President.
Move approval of item 8J. Mr. President, I don't know if you wanted your request about photographs to be added to that, or
yeah, let's.
With the addition of the request about photographs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks. Good job.
Okay, we're now on item number 9, public comment. We have 8 public comment cards. We'll begin with Boris Kaforin, followed by Deborah Burton and Sylvia Hernandez.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, Chiefs, and Officers. I'm here to support law enforcement for its improvement. What I tried to deliver last time, I'd like to see, for example, visual support of police chief report. It will be more impressive than just talking. I believe people would feel more comfortable. And presentation for any department report. But for my special interest, I'm specialized in this field. Actually, I discovered from Will Bratton that police commission actually is to protect police department from officials, maybe from citizens. But today I discovered suddenly that in regard what President of Police Commission told, that in regard city chapter, Police Commission represents citizens. And this is because I brought information, and I demand crime investigation and inner investigation. And I addressed this to Chief Charlie Beck, but and Steve Saborov especially, because I very respect police department, and I cannot afford to use name of people involved in this crime incident. But this is an emergency situation for me, and I try to be treated properly. I called the PD department 2 times, in both failed, completely failed. And this is why I'm here.
I think someone will come up. Someone will come up to you afterwards, and so you came to the right place.
Okay.
Deborah Burton.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Deborah Burton. I'm a longtime resident in the Skid Row community, an organizer with LA CAN, And in the summer of this year, I was being charged with 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. I and many organizers came to this body requesting that you investigate these false charges. Well, the case is over with. I was found not guilty on all charges. Today, I'm here calling on you to hear about the violence that too many women have been victimized by LAPD officers. We'll begin with Cheryl Willard, dragged from her room, beaten in the hallway, handcuffed, taken to the mental facilities, committed, then released by doctors saying she's sane. Another woman sitting in St. Julian Park with her son. While sitting there with her son, she was beaten by LAPD mounted police. Today, we're speaking of a few women in the downtown community who have been victims, but many women in the city of Los Angeles are also victims. We are here calling for at least 2 commissioners to hold a community forum in Skid Row about the Safer City initiative within 1 month. We also urge you to take action to end Safer City initiative. 7 years is too long for a community to be occupied. Thank you.
Sylvia Hernandez, followed by Ariana Alcaraz.
Good morning, police commissioners. My name is Sylvia Hernandez. I live and work in the community of Skid Row. I had witnessed citations and arrests along with the procedures from the members of LAPD on women and men. As the Safer Cities initiative was implemented since 2006, it had never fully reviewed and evaluated. LA CAN, through its community-based human rights assessment, found out that the criminalization throughout the community of Skid Row has been increased, and the promises and projections that this initiative plan has been failed as well. Housing and services had been lost and harder to obtain to the people that had been criminalized. As a concerned individual and member of LA CAN, I call for at least 2 commissioners to hold a community forum on SCI in a Skid Row community within 1 month, and we also urge to take action to end the SCI. 7 years is too long for a community to be occupied. Thank you.
Ariana Alcaraz.
Good morning. Okay, so I don't know if you remember me, but I was here a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about, my response to the violence on women done by your male officers. And so that same weekend out here in the Central City community, 2 women were shot by LAPD that weekend. One of them passed away, and they were both unarmed, obviously. And so I took some time to go out there and talk to the women out there and see what's going on and stuff. And it kind of was very sick to find out that although people did have some nice things to say about police officers in that neighborhood, they also had a lot of things to say about sexual harassment and sexual assault and victim blaming that goes on down there. And so I just wanted to point out, why is that okay for your officers to continue to do that? And, through the Safer Cities initiative and the militarization of policing down there, why hasn't there been some sort of outreach to that community? And I know that Chief Beck, you visit a lot of communities in the city of LA, yet you don't go out into the one that's right outside your office. You don't even have to drive there. You can walk there. And I just think that this relationship, through groups like LA CAN and stuff, who have the interest of the people at heart and who really fight for basic human rights, I think that there needs to be some kind of communication there, right? And I think that, Mr. Saltzman, right? You were talking about community outreach, and you're so impressed, and about how great the department has been doing. Yet I don't see any of that happening in the neighborhood that I'm in. I don't see any of that happening in the Skid Row community. And so we do urge that you do schedule a town hall within the next month, and that to have that supportive role in the community with the police and with great orgs and people.
Robin Hennessy. followed by Yvonne Michelle Autry and Daniel Jones. Robin Hennessy? Okay.
Can I get up? Hello. I came here not to argue with anyone, but I'm a victim of a violent sex crime here in Los Angeles, and my heart goes out to all the women in Skid Row because they're treated with lack of respect by the men. And I did have this lady put out my building because she's not allowed to be in there if she's not with a tenant. But what I came here for, I had gotten an award from Ethel Kennedy for standing up for minorities. It's not just the color of the girl's skin. It's the women in Skid Row that the men charge $5 for oral sex, and they don't have money, so they get pushed in this position where they feel they have to do it. There's a man in my building that sees at least 5 women a day. It's disgusting. Something needs to be done to help these women. And also, there's a woman that I'm a victim of violent sex crime, so I go to therapy. But there's a woman that just walks the streets, and she just tears my heart in half because she relives the rape every day and walks in circles and says, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Why isn't someone doing something to help her? I'm sick, so I can't do it, but if I can be a voice to ask you and your committee to have somebody do something to help these women, you know what I mean? Because I don't know what it is, but I could think of something. But right now, I think there needs to be more addressed to the women in Skid Row and the dignity and how they have to live and what they're being put through because they have no money or whatever. Okay? That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Yes, thank you so much. You're a hypocrite. Okay, if you're concerned about the welfare of women, why didn't you directly address me? You called me a black bitch, a black whore. You said I was a tramp and I had been having sex.
I don't think you're at all close to being on message here.
Okay, thank you very much. I will continue with my comments.
As long as you stay.
That's fine. Thank you so much. And I shall, but I will express my opinion because that is my right. Okay, in defense, again, of my testimony, I've been visiting my godmother for over 10 years. I was sitting quietly. And so, again, this is racism. This is racial profile. And you're perpetrating this. Not just in defense of a white female, but because I committed no crime, and I still am waiting for restitution. Okay, in this investigation, I've gotten no follow-up, none whatsoever. So I will contact Internal Affairs. However, again, as a black female, I would have been tased, beaten, dead if I had threatened to murder a white female. Again, Margaret Mitchell, Taisha Miller, we're drawing attention to women's abuse. We're drawing attention to witch hunts, the continued demonization and the incrimination of women. A sex slave cover-up perpetrated, we believe, by some police officers. I've been called baby. I've been disrespected by police officers. We've asked Chief Beck to address us, and he's denied. He refuses. You know, why won't you accept our invitation to directly communicate with LA Can and the members of the downtown Skid Row community? Again, we have Mayor Eric Garcetti who did accept our invitation. That's ridiculous. You know, if you're really sincere, as this woman is not, as she is a hypocrite, you know, why don't you accept our invitation? I'm direct. You know, keep it real. I'm concerned about the crime, whether it's perpetrated by your police officers or members of the community. All that other is BS.
Daniel Jones.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Jones. Here's how my mother helped the situation, and in the order I learned it. My mother said, no woman, child, or man is below the law. Then I learned in school that no man is above the law. This is for the new commissioners. Jared McCall Jones signed the California State Constitution. It's ingrained in my DNA, just like the captains down in the New Central City East. Police officers, politicians, and everybody else on that side of the fence deflects, and you plan accordingly. My family, we attracted deflection, and they planned accordingly first. There's one type of class in this country, a certain class. That certain class is privileged. It's the law enforcement community. And the reason why it's a privilege to drive in the state of California is to keep track of it. Period. From 1968 to 2006, all classified addresses for everybody in the state of California who was on the criminal justice system, their addresses and classified information, security numbers, social security numbers, and family members, that information was carried out in IBM sheets and given directly to my family and 48 other families assigned the state California Constitution for one purpose only: to keep the law enforcement community from crossing over their threshold to go home and disappear into the community at night. That's not going to happen because my family thought this is going to be the great state of California. And there's no ambiguity because I told you personally, go ahead and deflect that information. It's the truth. I know it, you don't. And that's exactly what my father said to do, to tell you that it exists. It's not my list. It's the people's list. I would never pull a Donner on you. We're going about this the right way. We need cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, the next four speakers are Jabril Mohammed, Hamid Khan, Jamie Garcia, and Emilio Laquez.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is Jabril Mohammed for Bismillah, the Justice Movement. This is in regards to the pursuit of a violent criminal. The incident in question, May 9th, 2013, I was assaulted there on 4016 South Central. Okay. However, in the police report, it was filed that the victim was a transient, a 1942 transient, when my driver's license shows the address 4016 South Central, the place of the incident and the place where I every day go to worship. That is Bilal Islamic Center. I'm a Muslim, and I pray there 5 times a day. And as a result of my going to the mosque to pray, I was subject to assault. Okay. Now, the reports in regards to that assault have been very twisted. We just had a report regarding bias. The bias goes beyond just policing. The bias goes into reporting. The bias goes into witnessing. It's very discriminatory. When, in fact, people who should be responsible are not being responsible. I'm asking that the Commission so dearly investigate the report filed 1313110088. I'm asking that you investigate and report on the complaint form CT number 13-001966. This was submitted to the IG. Then there's one more number, A13-4317491.
Thank you. Next.
Hamid Khan.
Is it possible to pass that document to each commissioner, please?
Sure.
So I just gave a copy of that because my comment relates to that. Good morning. Again, my name is Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition and the Los Angeles Community Action Network. Prior to coming to this meeting today, this morning, the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition held a press conference on the steps of the City Hall to announce the passage of a historic motion by the Los Angeles City Human Relations Commission, which decided to hold public hearings on the Los Angeles Police Department's Suspicious Activity Reporting Program, gang injunctions, and other public safety-related issues, with the overall theme centered around profiling. policies that fracture communities and inhibit healthy human relations. This will be the first local public hearing in the nation to focus on the government's suspicious activity reporting program, which originated in Los Angeles and is now in 46 states around the country. The motion, which was passed on October 10th of this month, also calls for the HRC board to draft a letter to LAPD commissioners stating their concerns about SARS and the detrimental, and I quote, concerns regarding SAR and the detrimental impact it has on various communities throughout the city, and to quote, submit findings and recommendations upon completion of the hearings. The Stop LAPD Spying Coalition led the effort in advocating for these public hearings and acknowledges the HRC decision as a major step forward in bringing to light LAPD policies of surveillance, information gathering, and policies that are anchored in racial profiling, invasion of privacy, and violation of civil liberties. So we come here today to you as members of Los Angeles' larger community and as custodians to public trust, to uphold the public trust and ensure that LAPD does not attempt to derail these public hearings that will be convened by the Human Relations Commission. We also urge you, the Police Commission, to direct the LAPD to operate with full transparency, honesty, and accountability in the HRC's implementation of public hearings on the SAR program. The Stop LAPD Spying Coalition looks forward to working with the whole community of Los Angeles for their maximum participation, workers, families, and organizations to engage in these hearings and take a step forward in educating the public on the systematic implementation of the surveillance state in our communities and neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jamie Garcia.
Hello, my name is Jamie Garcia, and I'm a registered nurse in Boyle Heights, as well as a member of the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. As Haman stated, the Human Relations Commission created a historic moment for the diverse community of Los Angeles to participate in public forums, highlighting gang injunctions in the National Suspicious Activity Reporting Initiative. Now is the time that we not only ask, but expect transparency, honesty, and accountability from the Los Angeles Police Department. It is vital for these hearings to occur, and we expect the LAPD to not interfere with the efforts of the HRC. The Human Relations Commission is responsible for informing our mayor and council members on how policies impact the health and well-being of our community. It is troubling as a nurse and a former mental health worker to see the developing culture of fear and suspicion in our neighborhoods, created by policies like See Something, Say Something. In this post-Trayvon Martin era, we must remember George Zimmerman's infamous words, "There is someone suspicious in our neighborhood." We need policies that foster cooperation and trust, not suspicion and fear. It is also extremely important that we not only look at Special Order 1 through the lens of racial profiling, which we have discovered through the LAPD Inspector General's report on in March of 2013 that 82% of SARs are collected on persons of color. But we must also critically discuss data mining and behavioral surveillance, which are core constructs within the SARS report. These concepts have no scientific backing. Even the National Academy of Sciences released a report expressing deep skepticism in regards to behavioral surveillance, stating that data mining techniques are particularly likely to generate false leads when part of counterterrorism efforts, because so little is known about what patterns indicate terrorist activities. Criminalizing innocent behavior like photography, videography, drawing in public has already led to false leads. Nursing is an evidence-based practice. I expect our police department to implement policies that are evidence-based as well. Finally, in a time of continued economic recession impacting our communities, every penny counts. Not only is the SARS initiative required the engagement of
The next speaker is Emilio Laquez.
I'll finish real quick. The storage facilities are known as fusion centers. On October 3rd, 2012, the United States Senate Committee on Homeland
Excuse me, the next speaker.
Next speaker, please.
Released a highly critical report on fusion centers. The subcommittee investigation found that fusion centers intelligence was often flawed, irrelevant, or useless, inappropriate, unrelated to terrorism, duplicative, and uninformative, could violate privacy protections, lacked adequate financial oversight, failed to hold office accountables who were not reporting violating guidelines. This report also stated that the government spent $1.4 billion on a useless center. We cannot allow LAPD to continue a program that's ineffective and therefore a waste of resources. Thank you.
Emilio Laquez.
Good morning. My name is Emilio, and I'm an organizer with the Youth Justice Coalition in South Los Angeles and also with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. We're here today to highlight the recent motion by the LA City Council Human Relations Commission to hold public hearings on suspicious activity reporting, gang injunctions, and other public safety issues. Gang injunctions that the LAPD physically enforces do not create greater public safety for our communities, as evidenced by all the feedback that youth and communities have given us, but rather they put an entire neighborhood on probation. And much like suspicious activity reporting and Special Order 1, they criminalize non-criminal activity on a daily basis. This is very problematic. Community members that are directly affected by these policies and concerned about them want more education on how gang databases, surveillance, and gang injunctions are utilized systematically by the LAPD. Many of our students and young people at the Youth Justice Coalition get labeled gang members and criminals on a daily basis under these policies, even if they've never engaged in neighborhood activity. We hope that LAPD representatives at these public forums will be honest, share necessary information, and provide the information about police surveillance and Special Order 1 that our coalition has requested in Public Records Act requests since 2012, so we can utilize this and further educate community members about these policies at these forums. The other thing is I would like to follow up and learn how to have a discussion about gang injunctions on the actual agenda for an LAPD commission meeting, so I'd appreciate follow-up on that as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
And that is the final comment card. We will now go to item number 10, which is closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A, 1, and 2 in accordance with Government Code 54957.
Sure.
Hi, this is Anna Tarian. I design eco-friendly clothing in Sherman Oaks. To watch eco-friendly programming, watch Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Los Angeles is a rich and diverse city, surrounded by the bounty of Mother Nature. But the comfort and pleasure we derive from this natural environment can quickly become dangerous to ourselves, our family, and our pets if we are not careful to take the proper precautions. Of the many different types of wildlife in the Los Angeles area, coyotes can be a persistent and difficult pest if not dealt with properly. Here are some important warning signs. If small pets in your area are disappearing, if you are finding your garbage cans turned over, if you are discovering holes dug underneath your fencing, if you are finding chicken wire fencing for bird and fowl enclosures ripped open, if you are finding animal scat filled with hair, if you've discovered single-track paw prints, then there is a good chance that there are coyotes in your area. And the safest course of action for you, your family, and your neighbors is to learn to live with coyotes.
This is Officer Boswell. Can I help you?
Every year, the Animal Services Department of the City of Los Angeles receives numerous complaints about coyotes.
In the past year, we've had approximately 800 complaints citywide, encompassing everything from sightings to pet attacks to just anything that you might find a coyote doing. The coyote policy of the City of Los Angeles is basically to do what we can to discourage coyote forays into our neighborhoods and try to live with the coyotes rather than against them.